Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
And this is Jack from emailsthatsell.com.
Today, Jack and I are going to share our personal top 5 cold email mistakes. These are the mistakes that we've seen change what could have been a successful campaign into a complete dud. So listen in to find out how to avoid those common pitfalls, and you'll be well on your way to have a successful growth channel. Today, here is your top 5 mistakes that people make with cold email.
I'm going to order my top 5 from least annoying to most annoying mistakes that are being made today. So let's dive into it.
Jack and I haven't shared your list of top 5 mistakes, so I'm really curious to see how many we're going to have in common. But it's been more than 50 episodes together, so chances are we're going to have a few of them in common.
Yeah, there'll be some overlap here, but hopefully our lists differ enough so that we've got close to 10 mistakes that our listeners can make sure that they're not doing when they send cold emails. So with that, Jeremy, let's kick things off with your first one. I guess this is the most obvious mistake on your list. Let's hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one and the most obvious mistake that I see people making, especially when they're brand new to cold email, is they try to sell too quick. They try to send out one email that should potentially be the close. I see Jack is smiling. It's probably one of his one. Oh yeah, he's nodding. It's one of his tips as well. If you guys been seeing or listening to our cold email podcast for quite some time now, you do know that we keep on saying that the goal of a cold email is just to open a conversation and not to close a sale. That's for me make it the top number one tip on or top number one mistake that people make with cold email.
Nicely done, Jeremy. Yeah, you've nailed my number 2 on my list of top mistakes. I've listed it as going for the kill in a cold email. Why is it on the list? Besides the fact that Jeremy and I do believe that cold email is for starting conversations, going for the kill beyond that is just doing your prospect a disservice. We don't want to open our email and get pitched to, and it doesn't work as well as opening the conversation. So you're hurting yourself. You're not making your prospect's day any better. Eliminate going for the kill, and your emails will get better results, and everyone will be happier for it, including yourself.
And on top of it, most people, when they use the strategy, as you mentioned, it just doesn't work. And therefore, they just stop cold emailing.
Yeah.
Right. Number 2. Oh, actually, number 1. Number 1 for you, Jack.
Okay, yeah. Number 1 on my list is writing essays, writing really long cold emails.
That's my number 2.
Look at this. This may be more similar than I expected, but okay. Why is writing essays high up on my list for top mistakes? Primarily, you haven't earned the right to grab minutes of your prospect's attention. So if you're getting a conversation started, you can do so in a short email. We're talking 35 words, 50 words, a couple of sentences here. Anything more than 5 sentences, in my opinion, is too long for a cold email. And if you say, Jack, well, that's well and good, but I have a lot to say, then that's fine. Don't worry. Just break it up into several touches, into several cold emails, follow-ups. You have plenty of time to say what you need to say. You just don't have to do it in one message.
Imagine it's like you're meeting someone for the first time on the street that just wants some information from you, but they spit out their entire life history and all the background and stuff and the context and so on before coming for the simple question at the end. So it's kind of ridiculous. Don't make it by email.
And just like we talked about in mistake number 1, going for the kill, it's not going to help out your prospects and it's not going to help out your reply rate. Promise you this, if you keep your emails shorter, good things will happen. Okay, that's all I've got for writing essays. There is one other note here. We have seen statistical data that says shorter emails get more replies. So we're not just talking about experiences that we've had in our campaigns. We're also talking about cold email data. So you can take this to the bank, so to speak. Okay, that's all I've got for writing essays. Jeremy, I'm really curious, is number 3 also on my list?
I don't think so. It's just that number 3 is actually pretty obvious. I don't think you're going to pick this one, simply because I think that's one thing that actually gets under my skin. Number 3 for me is people experimenting fancy fonts and formatting. That's something I see very often, and the data speaks for themselves. People trying to be fancy with fonts and formatting, bullet points, highlighting, underscore, all those sort of things actually just perform less because they're not trying to open a conversation. It's like one of those catalogs trying to sell you something with specs and stuff like that. And people are just not ready at this stage. And my advice to you, if you fall under this trap, is instead of experimenting with the way your email looks, experiment with the actual content of your email.
And probably just send plain text emails.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I mean. So that's like try to write as if the medium didn't matter. It could be on your iPhone using a certain font. It could be on your Outlook. It could be, doesn't matter.
And the nice thing here is when you move away from worrying about the best design for a cold email, you've got a lot of time and energy that you could put into the text or the content, like Jeremy said, which is where the biggest lifts are going to come out of.
But honestly, I think, everyone did this at school. When you have to give back an essay or whatever, we spend a lot of time in playing in words, formatting the font, the title, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher doesn't give a crap about that. Actually, they shouldn't. But if we spend all that time to just purely concentrate on the content without the presentation, then I think that's where, the most benefit comes.
One, not even playing devil's advocate, just one sort of tip here for formatting. This is all you have to worry about, in my opinion. Don't send font that's too small to read, but if you don't even touch the font, it's probably already fine. And white space is your friend. So if you've got a couple sentences, hit the return key every now and then so it's not one huge block of text. And in my opinion, you no longer have to worry about formatting. That's basically it. Simple stuff. Focus on the message.
All right. So, Jack, I'm curious now, what's your number 3 then?
Okay, so my list again is ordered by annoyance. We're starting to get down into things that really anger me. So my number 3 is sending untargeted cold emails.
Ooh.
This is one of my bigger pet peeves here because, number 1, it's lazy. Just gathering a list of anybody who remotely looks like your customer doesn't work well. You're leaving a ton of conversations on the table because I promise you, if you've got a large list, if you just broke it down into 3 or 4 subgroups, I promise you your reply rates will go up because you can tailor your messages for these subgroups. People are going to appreciate that you're writing to them, to their audience, to their interests. And finally, when was the last time you received a untargeted cold email that made your day or that made you want to reply? It's not how we're wired. We want to talk to people who are speaking directly to us as opposed to a shotgun approach. With today's access to information, to sales data, to prospecting resources, there's no excuse for sending untargeted cold email campaigns. Help yourself out and your prospects and narrow that list down. The other thing is, I'm not even saying you have to delete half of your contact base. I'm just saying, chunk them up into different groups that you can speak to very specifically. And that's basically it. That way you're sending targeted, hopefully personalized emails to everyone on your list. You can still have the list size that you've got, just chunk it down, and again, good things will happen.
Yeah, and if you don't really know how to do that, just check out episode 5 on how to find hot leads.
Great resource. Okay, we're working our way down. We've got 2 more each. Let's see if any of the last 2 are overlapping. I think at the beginning of the show, Jeremy and I guessed that we would have 2 overlapping mistakes that we're outlining today. Let's see if we've got another one. Kick us off with your 4th one, Jeremy.
Mistake number 4 for me is too much about me. It's like you're sending an email specifically talking about you. You want to do things. You have something, and not really thinking enough about the prospect you're contacting and what's in it for them. How would they actually benefit from receiving your email? And it's way too often that people, when they're writing their cold email, they're just thinking about them and trying to position their offer the best way possible, but always looking from their own eyes instead of looking from the prospect eyes. And what value are you really proposing to the people receiving the email?
Mm-hmm. Summarize that into maybe writing a selfish or being writer focused and as opposed to prospect focused.
The focus is better because it's not really selfish in a sense that I don't think, honestly, people are very conscious about that most of the time. They're just thinking like, how can I present my stuff the best way instead of how can I actually provide some value to the people I'm contacting? And I think, again, it's similar to the thing about like looking at the fonts and the presentation of things rather than actually delivering value.
I've heard an interesting argument for this idea here, especially in the SaaS space. There's a lot of smart folks who are creating amazing products out there. But the quote that I've heard is like, your genius isn't enough. Like, you really can have a superior product in every way. But I think the tendency for someone who does not have a strong sales background is like, it's kind of quick to say like, look, if I just put some bullet points, they're going to see how superior this product is and they'll start using it. Unfortunately, that's not really how this works. And you've got to have more to it than just an incredible product to pitch, so to speak. You've got to enter this conversation with their needs in mind, and starting from the other way around, from like product first, doesn't really work to get these conversations going. And so if you are, I would say, someone with a technical background and an incredible product, you're probably at the greatest risk for this, just because I think the tendency is to lean on our products first, as opposed to really understanding the whole sales process and your customers' needs. So I'll wrap this up with just saying the person who is probably best suited for writing these cold emails is the person responsible for doing sales from a day-to-day basis, because they're the ones hearing the objections, finding out what the users or the customers are most interested in during the pitch. And basically, if you can take that sales conversation or the demo and break that down into some cold emails, you're off to a really good start.
So what's your next one, Jack?
Gosh, this is like 50% exactly what you said. I'm calling it a weak value proposition, basically not bringing enough to the table, or to borrow your words, writing so that it's just me, as opposed to this is something that's going to make a profound impact in what you're doing. Here's why it's dead simple, why you want to hit reply and engage with me, because it's very clear how you're going to benefit from this. So some words of advice I can share if you're not exactly sure what the best value prop you should be adding in your cold emails is think about what works offline. So if you've got a phone call going on, there's a couple topics that you're probably going over. There's some questions that your leads are asking you. Typically, they will show you what they're most excited about, where the biggest value is for them. And just listening to their exact words and putting them in your emails will work usually for finding out what you should be talking about, what you have to bring to the table, and making sure that finds its way into your emails. So no weak value props. Really, I sort of, when I sit down to write cold emails, it's like, how is this going to make this prospect's day? Like, with that mindset, I think it's much easier to write an effective cold email that starts conversations. Last one.
My number 5 is not following up with value. And that's what I call true persistence. And very often people, when they send you follow-ups, they only rely on the bump email or the breakup email. And I think that's just, I wouldn't say lazy, but I think there is so much potential wasted at this stage. So an example of annoying follow-ups is like, hey, did you read my email last time? Hey, have you seen my email I sent last time? Hey, have you seen my email? And it's like, yeah, I've seen your email. I just decided not to reply at that stage. And what I call true persistence is adding more value as you go with follow-up. So the person just receive so much value that the reciprocity rule kicks in and they feel compelled to reply. One of my favorite follow-ups, when the person mentioned what happened since. That's not necessarily super easy to automate, but that's pretty easy once you got a list. So in essence, that could be like, hey, we developed this really good technology, or we're just trying this new technology. I think it's going to help your business because X and Y. Are you interested in having a conversation? But maybe at that time, this is not the right time. But 3 months later, you could always come back with like, hey, since I sent you that last email, I don't know if you had time to look at it or if it wasn't the right time, but this is the other thing that came up to it. This particular client boosted his revenue by 3 times. We're still using the early adopter prices. Okay, maybe that's too early in the sales pitch. But you see what I mean? Is like keep them updated, because that's what I call true persistence. And people just feel compelled at some point to just reply to those really well crafted emails. Just because by the time is you sort of like build a relationship without necessarily knowing it. Even if that's a one-sided relationship, it just end up being so there that they will reply at some point. They will know you because they come to know and expect your type of email and your progress and your updates. And if they're interested, they're just either not going to reply or reply at some point. If they're not interested, they're going to reply you straight away. They're going to say like, hey, dude, appreciate, but this is not for us. And at least you'll know. And I think like that's really what you want with cold email.
Absolutely. Okay, so just summarizing that, it sounds like there's two things going on. The first thing is persistence. So not giving up after the first email. So staying in contact with the prospects. But the second thing is very important, and that's adding something new to the conversation with your follow-ups. Don't send lazy bump emails that just say, hey, did you see this? Instead, keep following up with new value that can maybe inspire them to reply, or maybe the new piece of information that you present in your fifth follow-up is the benefit that gets their attention. Quick story, I was rewatching one of my favorite 90s movies, Happy Gilmore, and there's a scene where this golf coach tries to get Adam Sandler's character to become a golfer. And he says, hey, this is your calling. You're really good at it. He says, no, I'm out of here. And he starts walking away and he says, don't you understand? You've got true talent. He said, doesn't matter. I'm out of here. And he said, but you can make a lot of money. And he stops in his tracks, turns around and says, okay, where do I start? Now, there's a number of different benefits that this character was trying to get across to convince, and it was the money angle that actually worked at the end of the day. It's sort of the same with follow-ups. It's like you try a few different angles, you don't know which one is actually going to stick. So it's like when you follow up, add new things to the conversation. And last thing, shameless plug, if you go to emailsthatsell.com and type in your name in the little pop-up thing that comes up, I've got a template for like a bump 2.0 email that you can use that basically talks about what Jeremy just mentioned, like how to send a bump email that adds something new to the conversation. It's quick. I think it's like a 3-sentence template that should help out with this.
Love it. Check it out. So I'm curious about this. What's your last point? The most annoying one.
Okay. The most annoying cold email mistake is writing an unclear call to action. This one irks me.
That was my bonus.
It was your bonus. Okay, perfect. Well, then I'll take it. You can add anything that I missed. But basically, guys, this is the most annoying mistake because of two things. One, when we write an unclear call to action, your prospect doesn't really know what you want them to do, which is bad for you and it's bad for them. And second, it's the easiest thing to correct, in my opinion. Just rewriting the last sentence makes a huge difference in not only your reply rates, but the number of leads you're able to generate from a particular campaign. It's lazy writing at its worst. I should say it's lazy copywriting at its worst. I'll give you an example of an unclear or weak call to action. If you ever find yourself ending an email that says, I'd love to get your feedback on this, period. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great one. Signed, name. It's like you're just saying you would love their feedback on this. Thanks. Have a great one. They don't really know exactly what you want them to do.
The one that personally gets under my skin is let me know. It's just like so lazy on, it's just like, it's on you. Just do whatever you want. It's just like, it could be like reply to let me know X, then that's okay. But just, let me know. And then, it just doesn't work for me.
The antidote, the cure for this is simply just to be explicit in asking your prospects what you want them to do. If you pick up a magazine and read any advertisement in there, there's a direct call to action. It says, go to this website, call this number. It's exactly stated what they want the reader to do. And in cold email, it's no different. It actually does your prospects a disservice if you're wishy-washy with the call to action you present them. Instead, just lay it out. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. And if you've written a good cold email, they know exactly how taking that action is going to benefit them. So just be explicit. It's okay. They're actually going to thank you for making it clear what they need you to do.
I think most of the time people are just too shy. You just say like, this is what I need, or this is what I need you to do. Can you give an example of a really clear call to action, something that you like?
Reply yes if you'd like me to send more information. Or is this something you think would benefit company? ? Or are you the best person to speak with about XYZ ? Typically, if you end your email with a question mark, it's going to be a direct call to action. That's something that can be answered. It's always a danger zone if you end a cold email with a period. That's an indication that you're being most likely unclear with your call to action. Check your call to actions before you press send. There's a good chance that tweaking them can do wonders to your reply rate and also help out your prospects' decision-making process and your sort of results from cold emails as well. So write clear, explicit call to actions, and everyone's going to be better off.
There you go. That was a top 5.
Top 5. Okay. No mistakes being made from our listeners. Enjoy. And again, if you want to see my template for writing the Bump 2.0 email, just go to emailsthatsell.com and plug in your email and you'll get it delivered in your inbox. Thanks, Jeremy. Nice.
Thanks, Jack.
All right, so you've just heard our top 5 mistakes in cold email that kill reply rates. So to make sure you avoid these all too common pitfalls, here's a quick recap of what not to do. Don't write essays, keep it short. Don't go for the kill, aim to start conversations. Next, don't worry about formatting. Instead, focus on improving content instead. Don't send untargeted emails. Segment your lists and send more relevant, personalized cold emails. 3 more. Don't be lazy with your follow-ups. Instead, add something new and of value for true persistence. Don't write all about me. Instead, write your cold emails for the prospect. And finally, do not write unclear call to actions. Instead, be explicit with your ask. Hey, cold emailer.
Yeah, you.
If you got some value from this episode, give us a high five by sharing a 2-sentence review on iTunes.
Or Stitcher or TuneIn. That works too.
It's a quick way to help other growth-minded folks like us find this podcast.
So they can send awesome emails.
And make everyone's inbox a better place. Thanks.